Welcome to Linux Saloon, a place to discuss tech, open source, and where Linux is always on tap. Each show will have a talk about a Linux project, such as a Linux distribution, a desktop environment, or application. We also chat about the news or any variety of topics, from the community or whatever. Anything that is Linux, tech, and open source related is on the table for discussion. I'm Nate, a Linux fitness and vintage tech enthusiast with an almost unhealthy obsession with the OpenSUSE project. And with me today, I've got quite the panel. I've got Ben, Ulfnick, Mark, Adam Grubbs, Vince, Eris, Jinda, Terry, and Colin is back. So apparently Australia hasn't fallen off the edge of the earth, so we're really happy about that. I know you're one of those flat earthers, so I'm kidding. I'm not going to make that accusation. How is everybody?
Excellent.
Good.
Fantastic. So I'm going to let everyone know that my internet seems to be acting a little bit goofy. And so if things drop out, you can always catch it on the rerun. Do you ever know what rerun is anymore? Do people know what rerun is?
Yeah, I think that went away.
Okay.
I think that kind of died.
All right. So we don't do reruns anymore. So, so be sure to do the straw poll. The links should be in the somewhere. Eris always hooks me up with her. And on the docket for today, we will execute Order 66. I mean, this is episode 66 of Linux Saloon. So, Eris, thank you for that. We're not going to... Wait, what would Order 66 be in, like, Linux Saloon terms? Anybody have any idea? No? We just go after the Australian?
All the tuxes.
Oh. We turn on all the tuxes. So we become, like, BSD Saloon.
Could be worse. Could be tuxes with Darth Vader helmets.
Well, anyway, on the docket for today, we're going to do our news flight night, do some housekeeping, last call, but first, also the straw poll. Do the straw poll. But first, what have you been doing in Linux and tech? And Jinda threw a bombshell in as we were talking, getting things rolling about what is IPP? Now, besides potty humor,
that's when you go running. That's when you go.
So it was tangentially related to something in Linux Mint, right? That you were doing.
Yeah, Linux Mint it said strong statement that they were running internet protocol printing, or internet printing protocol instead of running drivers and stuff. So I was playing with it. And so I asked around, and my friend goes, "Here, I got an old crappy printer, try it out." And so I did, and it worked instantly and magically delicious without setting it all up. And I was curious of what it was because I was kind of confused because I thought cups was kind of the thing, and maybe it's not, and the whole 9 yards. I'm just confused about what the whole thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense, and I think those are not necessarily reliant on the other. I think you can have cups and IPP. I think IPP is the protocol, while cups is the internal server that manages that. So then your application would spit out to cups, "Hey, print this thing," and then cups would use whatever protocol it is to get to the printer, which IPP is one of them. I think HP uses something called like DirectJet is what they use. Maybe it's also IPP. I have no idea. Adam probably knows. He knows all these things because he's a big. Isn't he like work for HP now as like a printer tech?
No.
Oh, I got that wrong.
Anything I can do to stay away from a printer, and I'm good with that. No, I have absolutely no idea. This is outside of my wheelhouse.
I don't know a lot about the nitty-gritty of the printing, but we do a lot of printing at work. And I've always found that IPP it tends to be a bit of a standard. So whichever printer you have, if you connect it to a network, it should auto-detect in most distros. And if you use that, it should work fine. So usually if I'm trying to acquire a printer, I make sure I'm going for one that's networked. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I've been using HP printers for a long time, and probably over 6-7 years, I think, and always network connected on the home network. Never had a problem with printing or scanning, and I've used many different distros over the course of time, and it's always just worked as long as you connect your printer to the network. And once you do that on the screen of the printer, then you shouldn't have a problem connecting your printer. I don't know if that's IPP has anything to do with that, or that's what's used to pick up the printer. I don't know how that works, but I still use printers today. It comes in handy for scanning things and sending documents to people. So,
for sure.
You know.
Yeah, I use it all the time. So Leo says IPP is driverless printing. It's not just a Linux thing. It also works on tablets. Well, yeah, tablets and stuff too. So stuff could be phones.
Yeah.
Raspberry Pis.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. Either Joao Jada or maybe that's a Hoyo Hata. I have no idea. So I apologize for both my pronunciations that are probably wrong. But he says, isn't JetDirect or the other way around the old stuff they use? I don't know. I have when I look at my printer configuration, it's HP:/net and then whatever the name of the printer is. So I have no idea. Sean Gold says, think of Cups as the host or hub and IPP as one of the services that it can connect to. That makes sense. And then Steven Anderson just kind of throws in a curveball and says, hello, I was watching Big Bang Theory. Well, there we go. And apparently he stopped it for us.
Yeah. Good show. He uses Ubuntu.
I like the Star Trek references. He uses Ubuntu
Yeah, Sheldon one day said, Ubuntu, my favorite, not Windows operating system.
He did. That's
And
right.
all I could do is laugh.
Yeah, that's a show that gets a lot of criticism. Like people say, like, if you didn't have the laugh track, you wouldn't laugh. And I think it's funny, probably because I am a nerd. Like that's I think why I think it is funny. And sometimes when Sheldon does things, I'm like, well, that was me.
I like that how everyone here can be typecast as Sheldon.
Yeah, probably. Leo says the protocol, I'm assuming IPP, is the magic. So
I'd like to think I'm a little more socially aware than Sheldon. Just saying.
I'll second that motion.
I'm probably not. I know I'm oblivious to most things. So be sure to do that straw poll. It's going on. It's coming up in the chat once again. So make sure you hit that up. It's a good time.
I've done the straw poll. I did the straw poll.
So, Jinda, have we satisfied your questions about IPP?
Yeah, you basically did, because I was a little confused. I thought it had more to do with cups when it does not, which is basically what I was looking for.
Yeah, so Cups is still the thing that manages your printing services, and IPP is one of its things that it can output to, apparently.
Yeah, I didn't know if I needed one or the other or both or what. That's where I was kind of confused.
No, I think Colin is confused too, because that's another kind of cups. That's a Mugsy. So,
hey, Nate, I've got something I want to mention.
Yes, please.
If it's okay. So I just wanted to mention to everyone that coming up is the Southeast Linux Fest. If you're anywhere near Charlotte, North Carolina, in the U.S., that is coming up on June 9th through the 11th. And so I'm preparing my slide deck. I may give the same presentation I gave last year, but I'm planning to, I'm going to try to submit my talk. It is past the deadline, but I think I have a good chance. And so that's what I'm doing in Linux. Preparing for the Self conference next month.
So I will see you there next month. I will be there. I have.
You're gonna do. You liked it so much. You're gonna go back.
Yes, I'm coming back. I am going to bring some of my toys that I've built for people to mess with. I did. Now I'm gonna have to poke around a little bit. I didn't get a response. So I sent it out a couple weeks ago, but about like what it takes to get like a table there, a booth, and then just to like do a little bit of I'm gonna do Linux Saloon there and everything else as well on Saturday night. I'm sure they're busy. You know, people have jobs and more than whatever, or maybe something's broken and I just need to keep poking. But I'm hoping to have a booth there and then have some toys. I was thinking about bringing my Back to the Future pinball machine, but I think that might be too much. It might be too a little bit over this
That's
time.
a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a 12-hour drive for me, and my oldest is going to come with me, so he's going to hang
Oh,
out.
great.
Yeah. So I'm trying to Linux indoctrinate him. He that's all he uses. It's all he knows. But he's like not into it. He just wants to play his games. And I'm like, no. It's not about the games. It's about the technology that's running the games. And he just looks at me like I'm got a lobster growing out of my forehead or something.
Yeah. You know, I think I've seen there are some kids there that I've seen before, and you know, they enjoy going to the lock picking table and giving a go at that, and you know, getting all the swag from the different vendors and such, and maybe the talks are not, you know, probably not too much for them, but
Probably
they
not.
do have that gaming room.
Right. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I told him that, you know, there's like a LAN party room there that you can, you know, bring your computer or the Steam Deck or whatever, and, you know, play along with the other people that are there. And there were kids there last year, not like tiny kids, but about his age. Yeah. He's like a small adult right now, so he's not so much of a kid anymore. I mean, he's still my kid, but he's like a small adult. But anyway,
my daughters and wife hang out at the pool, so they do the pool and the non-Linux stuff. And then I get to do all the geek out stuff. So it'd be good to see you there.
Yeah, I'm really excited about going. Like this is the Linux Fest. I'm really excited about. I'm gonna go to at least one more, I think, this year. I would actually like to make the trip out to the Northwest Linux Fest. I haven't been to Washington in a long time, and I think it'd be fun just to, like, you know, meet the Jupiter Broadcasting crew. I think that'd be fun.
So the big question is, can we figure out some way to simulcast the Linux Saloon from there on Saturday evening? Yeah.
Well, I was able to last year at Self, and I don't know. I would try and do it with.
Why don't you do and Ryan and the gang? They normally do that, don't they?
What do you
mean? Tux Digital, don't they normally go to Self and have a live feed?
They did a couple of years. They did, like, before the COVID lockdown stuff, but not I don't think so.
Oh, okay, right. Oh, okay. They did do one with what's his name, Big Daddy, there at one stage.
They did. I think it was 2019.
Yeah.
I wanted to go that year, but it didn't work out.
Right.
Lup is talking about coming to Chicago. That would be cool because Chicago is only about 90 minutes away from here, and so that would be a lot of fun. Well, cool. Does anybody here have gone to Linux fests or I know like Adam's been to Gaming Fest, which is kind of like Linux Fest.
I went to Self in 2019.
Oh yeah, did you? Was it a good time?
Yep.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
It goes for 2-3 days, doesn't it? Self, is that right?
Yeah, it does.
Yes, yeah, I was only there for one day though.
Well, if I make it a 12-hour trip, I'm going to hang out the whole time.
I'm wearing my Self T-shirt. Look at that.
Oh wow, what year is that?
From a previous year.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, well, very cool.
So if anyone, we put the link in the chat. Again, if you're anywhere near, I think the entry is fairly small, the entry fee. And honestly, I think if you're a student or don't want to pay, I think it's actually, they don't charge you anything. So I don't know the official policies. I'm not related to the conference itself. I do volunteer and help, but I'm not anything official. So just an attendee speaker.
Well, that makes you pretty official in my book.
You want to do a talk, Nate?
I have a couple of ideas, but it is past the submission date thing, but they're not really well fleshed out. We'll leave that for the after show. All right. Eris, you did a couple of straw polls.
Yep.
How did those straw polls
I guess we could do the non next week first, and then we'll do the next week one.
Perfect.
Okay. Let me get it. So the question was, on what do you do most of your gaming? And this was kind of surprising because I thought it would be a little bit more separate, but it is pretty much all computer. 57% said computer, and then 23% said I don't play video games. 10% said console, and only 5% said Steam Deck. So I thought that was interesting. I thought more people would be using their Steam Deck for gaming, or I guess maybe it's just not their primary way, and 5% said phone. And I think I did get a response for that one. Let me see. The response was back in the day, gaming would have been with manuals and dice. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons many years ago. These days, PC gaming when I have the time.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Steam Deck didn't get more votes. I did vote Steam Deck on that one. Maybe I should have voted earlier and more often, just to, to put my thumb on the scale a little bit. Why do you suppose computer was number one? Was it just maybe the crowd?
I guess everybody's just games on their computer. I mean, it makes sense because everybody's a very technical user, but still, I would think even people who are very technical sometimes go to a console just because it's easier sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Take a break from the technical.
Yeah, but I mean, part of the problem, I guess, is now the consoles are so like, it's not like it used to be. Like you would just put in the game and that was it. Now you gotta wait for it to download and like updates and all this other stuff. Like it's not as simple as it used to be, I guess, console.
Yeah, it's probably true. Because it used to be, like back in the PlayStation 2 and before days, maybe 3 as well. I don't know what the 3. You pop in your CD, DVD, whatever, or cartridge, and you're off to the races. That was it. Sometimes there's additional content you could download, but it was optional. Now, at least when I got a PlayStation 4 game, I put that in, and then I had to play it the next day because it had all these downloads it had to do. And
you can't even play the first day without getting updates. Like the first day that it's released, like you go in there and there's like already an update waiting for you. They won't let you play the game before you update.
Back in the days when you used to get your money's worth.
Yeah, now there's these hidden costs of internet charges that you have to apply.
When I read the question around gaming, I sort of stopped for a minute, and I'm not sure if I really consider the puzzle games on my phone gaming. Gaming almost sounds to me like
games.
You have a little bit more, like you're using a controller and it's a full screen experience, lots of audio and all that. But then I said, well, you know what? The puzzle games and stuff I do on my phone are games, and so I was the one that answered the phone. But if I were to play a little bit more involved game, yeah, I would be using Steam on the computer, or on the Xbox. But I don't use the Xbox ever.
Just not the games that do anything for you.
Yeah, it's just not that. Those are much more expensive games. I have very few. Don't have the right couch and setup and everything for that thing, and anyway, so the phone's one of these more convenient things. It goes with me everywhere. You're waiting in a doctor's office or waiting somewhere, and you pull it out and start doing puzzle games, right? So
yeah, that's true.
There's actually an interesting story that's kind of related to that. I don't think you have it in your things, but I can give you the link. There was this mom who's been playing Candy Crush for 10 years, and she accidentally entered a tournament, and she won a prize money.
Wow,
that's fantastic. I guess
so there's the link in case you.
I guess there is. I do play Pokemon Go somewhat frequently, but it's like 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. Nothing really substantive. Like, oh, there might be a Pokestop I can spend, or if I go for a run, I let that thing tick away at the mileage or kilometers.
You don't battle the gyms?
Yeah, sometimes. Get some Pokebucks.
Pokebucks.
You pollute the virtual world with all those flowers. I know you do.
I'm sorry, say again?
All the petals. Do you pollute the virtual world with all those flowers?
I don't.
There's flowers all over my neighborhood, just virtually.
No, that'd be kind of fun. Virtual flowers.
I do that. Is that Pokemon Go or is that the yeah, that's Pokemon Go. Oh no, Pikmin Bloom.
Okay.
Pikmin Bloom.
Oh, Pikmin, yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's the one. I'm sorry.
Right.
I used to play Pokemon, and I got to level 30, I think. and I got a lot of medals and everything. And then I just stopped playing. I haven't played in, I don't know, like 3 years, ever before the pandemic. I don't know when that was exactly. Probably like 4 years now. I even went to Pokemon Go Fest.
Oh, really?
And they gave us $100 because it was a terrible experience. So they returned everybody's money. They refunded everybody's money, and they gave us $100 in the currency for the game. And I think I used like $1 maybe after that, and I stopped playing.
Well, Leo says he wants your friend code thingy. You might have to install it again. Leo needs friends apparently.
Did anyone play Pokemon Go to the polls?
I always vote. I never miss it. That's one of those memes that came about because people thought it would be interesting to mix the popularity of Pokemon Go to voting, but I mean, you're not gonna get people excited about voting that way, I think.
I thought Pokemon Go is for children, and then I should be embarrassed in admitting that I even play it.
One of the most childish things you can do is to hold on to the notion that being an adult means you have to let go of being childish.
That's true. You don't have to grow up. You just have to grow old, I guess. Well, that's fun. Yeah, I prefer the Steam Deck for gaming at this point. Outside of like Minecraft, I don't use a computer really much for gaming at this point. Everything else is more fun on the Steam Deck, I find. Is that crazy, Adam? What did you put? Console?
Console.
Yeah. That PlayStation 5? Does that thing have enough horsepower to do Minecraft?
PS5 and Switch lately, actually. Been
Oh.
playing a lot of Switch lately.
Speaking of gaming, so I went to this.
I got rid of my Xbox, so.
Oh, you did? Oh, no, yeah, that's right. You got the PS5.
That I did.
I went to an arcade.
No, I had both. I just sold my Series X. So.
Oh, okay. I got the OG Xbox. That's all I got, Xbox-wise. So I went to an arcade yesterday, and every once in a while I take my kids to this. It's like a family fun arcade thing. They have like laser tag. We didn't do that. I gave them like all collectively $30, then go play a bunch of games. And they had it was like a giant arcade cabinet, with like a widescreen. It has like this Minecraft, but it was like dungeons or something like that. Has anyone ever heard of that? Minecraft dungeons? It's like you go around, it's like a fighting game.
Yeah, pretty great game.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So
like Diablo, right?
Well, I don't know. I would call it Diablo. I don't remember playing Diablo. But I thought it was a really fun game, and I actually did better than my oldest, and he was a little bit dismayed by that because I never played it before, and he played it on the Switch all the time. And I said, so I explained to him, I said, look, when it comes to arcade gaming, I said, you'll never beat your father. You have joysticks and buttons you can smash. Leo says, yeah, it's like Diablo. So you are correct there, Sir Adam. All right. Go ahead and move on to the news. Where did I put the news? Oh, here it is. So I don't know if anyone is like follow much of the hardware news, and maybe I brought this up a little bit, but has anybody seen the new Framework 16-inch laptop? I think Linus Tech Tips did like a big thing on it. Apparently he put some stake in the company. It's pretty cool. So one of the problems with laptops, at least in my opinion, is whenever there's an upgrade, you can't actually change anything out in a laptop. You just have to buy a new laptop, and that's kind of unfortunate. So the Framework laptop is one of sustainable technology that you can upgrade it. But now the 16-inch laptop, you actually have replaceable GPUs along with the CPU, like the main board and everything else. So that I think is really very cool. Is anybody like, we got more desktops here, or do people here use laptops?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I generally stick to desktops, and in a way, I kind of already have a Framework laptop in that sense because I can swap things out, and
Right.
Things are a bit easier that way. But yeah, it's amazing what Framework's doing on the laptop side. This is something we've been waiting for a long time, and we're actually maybe gonna get it. So, well, I shouldn't say maybe, we will, but yeah, soon.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I've actually ordered a 13-inch laptop, Framework laptop for myself because I don't like how big. I don't want a big one. I want like a little guy. So Leo says 70-30 laptop desktop. So use a laptop 70% of the time and a desktop 30% of the time. I'm probably something maybe closer to 50-50 on that. Go ahead,
I
Colin.
prefer desktop, to be honest, but the advantage of a laptop is if you have a power failure, you don't lose anything.
Right.
That's good advantage of a laptop, I suppose. But my secondary one that I use, a tablet, is a Surface Go, Microsoft Surface Go, and I'm running Endeavour OS GNOME on that, which is pretty good.
That's great.
Works well.
How old is that Surface?
4 years, I think.
Okay. Does it still feel like it's
I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, it works well. Yeah.
So Sean Gold says, I do hope the replaceable GPU standard is widely adopted with other laptop manufacturers. I doubt it will be, but I hope so too.
To answer your question, I use exclusively laptops, mainly from a heat perspective, because when I had desktops, like the room would get really warm, and I don't have that happen with the laptops, I guess by their very nature. But I definitely prefer not having like a big like tower and all the other stuff that goes along with that. Sometimes I use my laptop mostly as a desktop, if you know what I mean. And like sometimes I forget, oh yeah, I can unplug this and like take it places. That's a thing. Like so it's kind of nice, yeah. And laptops are plenty powerful nowadays that like I don't know, it's, unless you need the modularity of a desktop, a laptop should be fine.
So I agree. I think I like desktops for specific functions. Like I found that when I used to do Linux Saloon, actually before Linux Saloon was, Biddle, I did it on a laptop. And so my setup time to go from like what I was doing with the laptop, docking it, doing whatever else, I would always have like weirdness I'd have to like kind of iron out each time. But now doing that on a desktop, everything seems to be pretty static. And it's a nice, I don't want to say appliance necessarily, but it's a known, doesn't change much and so forth. So it just seems to be a better experience, I guess, if that makes any sense. Anna Rita says, for me, laptops just made more sense because I don't need to buy extra stuff like keyboard, monitor, speakers, and web camera, etc. Yeah, that makes sense. And Sean Gold says, still prefer a desktop these days. What about you, Jinda? What do you have sitting in front of you? Is that a desktop or a laptop?
I got a giant desktop.
Okay. Is it like one of those like giant towers like you had back in the 486 days with a bunch of ISA cards in it?
Yeah, it's huge.
Sweet.
It is literally massive.
I gotta see a picture of that sometime. What about you, Mark?
Desktops and laptops, but mostly desktops. I like having the two 24-inch monitors, and my daily driver for work is a laptop, but with a big 27-inch monitor. But yeah, I like all the screen real estate in that.
I would stick with like the USB-C standard for dock stations and such. That's kind of changed the game a little bit on the laptop usefulness because you can very easily. I've always bought like Dell Latitudes before that had like the docking ability, but now like with the USB-C, it seems like you have the benefit of a dock station without, I guess, the proprietary lock-in of a dock station. I just don't trust USB-C is.
Yeah, these various little docking stations or little docking adapters that you can put in the power distribution and connect up a bunch of USBs and audio and monitors. That has changed the game, I think.
Yeah, and also, I think laptops are probably more. Probably for most people, it's fine. But I find that, like, for me, when I'm doing things like rendering or like rendering videos or even audio, not for that to lesser extent audio, but videos, or if I'm doing like 3D design CAD work and if I'm doing a lot of intensive processing, I do notice it seems like the laptop kind of reaches a thermal saturation point much more quickly than my desktop. And so it tends to kind of, the performance becomes degraded over time. I don't know if that's, would ever get fixed in a laptop chassis style or not. But yeah, I find that the desktop seems to like crank away better for long periods of time of doing things. But that's just an observation. I don't know if that's
one thing that I would think about these framework laptops is, you know, a lot of the modern consumer grade laptops, they'll use these little plastic clips, and they don't really want you in, you know, taking the back off and that type of thing. And when you do, you ultimately, if you don't use the right spudger or whatever, it'll end up breaking the clips, even if you do. But this framework, I'm sure, you know, is made to come, you know, made to come apart a little bit and with screws and that, you know, rather than those little plastic clips. So I think that would be a benefit. I don't see any details on that, but
yeah, they give you all the tools you need to actually work on it when you buy it.
Yeah, that is just I know in our Linux group, the Atlanta Linux enthusiasts, we had some people try to use Chromebooks and put Linux on them, and one of the gentlemen is kind of tough on keyboards. His daily driver is still an IBM 101 keyboard, but he's tough on keyboard. Well, those keyboards in Chromebooks are not made to be replaced. They got those plastic clips, and once those break, it's
over.
You're really not. It's not a user replaceable thing. They just don't work out. So.
Oh boy, Leo, the M1/2 chips don't suffer as much from thermal throttle. This ain't Mac Saloon. Correct. It is not Mac Saloon. We like the right to repair here. At least I do.
I do too.
Mac Saloon.
Although if it were like a Big Mac Saloon, that I could probably go for that. 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, and a sesame seed bun. Who here is old enough to remember that song that they had? The Big Mac song? Of course, Jinda. Jinda has it memorized. You call it something else, like Mackers or something like that?
Maccas, yeah. Maccas.
That's great. I love it.
That's the one, Maccas.
If you...
Apparently we're the only ones who call McDonald's something different in the world, is Maccas.
That's fine.
If you ever see that documentary, Super Size Me, they ask people.
Yes, I did.
They ever ask people all these questions about like who's the president? Can you say the Pledge of Allegiance? And they can't say that, but this person could say that thing you were saying about the ingredients for the Mac.
Yeah.
They could say that by heart, like really quickly. They knew that by heart, but they wouldn't know the Pledge of Allegiance.
I don't know what it is over there, but I do know it has 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickled onions on a sesame seed bun.
Yep, that's it.
And apparently, if you said that within 10 seconds or something, they'd give you a free Big Mac over here many years ago.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I don't know. There was a thing going around.
I think it's. I think everybody knows it now. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they don't. Maybe next time I go to McDonald's, I should go to McDonald's just and order it like that. Could I have your 2 all beef patties special sauce?
That'd be funny. I'd love to see the reaction. You got to record that.
That would be fun to do.
Start the trend, Nate. It's called Maccas. Start the trend.
Mackers.
Get it flowing through.
So it looks like Dell has this Luna thing, this Luna platform that is supposed to be a modular computer, as a modular laptop as well. Now, I haven't heard anything more from this. I didn't see anything on the website yet. But do you think that framework is the one that really sort of made this thing kind of become a thing?
Yeah, framework was first.
I guess.
So we're pretty much going full circle, are we? We're going back to computers we can upgrade and stuff, which they should be anyway.
Yeah, I feel like they should be.
I was going to say we live in a throwaway world, and it's not necessary.
Right.
Excuse me.
I kind of feel like maybe we should be more responsible with like our consumer electronics, so we're less throwaway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if this is a trend or if it's just a fad for now. Like I don't know if Dell is actually going to follow through with this and push a line like that. But I think the fact that Framework is doing that and there are options now to have a fully upgradable machine, I think that's a really good thing for the future.
Is it only come in 13-inch? Is it? Is that the biggest size, or they got bigger ones than that?
What was that, framework?
It looks framework, yeah. And what's the logo? It looks like a KDE or a GNOME settings logo or something like that.
Yeah, kind of. It looks like it's a gear, I guess.
It's just a gear. Yeah, okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah, they have a 13-inch and a 16-inch. The 13-inch has like replaceable modules in it, and then the 16-inch has replaceable GPU. So the 13-inch is with an onboard, just uses the onboard GPU. So either if you get the AMD one, it has the APU, and if you have a Intel, it uses the whatever the Intel current graphics stack is. I forget what it's called. Can't remember offhand.
Oh yeah, 16-inch. Yeah, I didn't see that actually.
And the 16-inch is pretty cool. You can center your keyboard. You can offset it with a numpad. You don't have to use a numpad. You can also change where you put your touchpad as well. So I think that's pretty cool. Some options there.
Oh, so you can buy different keyboards for as well and just swap them out. Well, that's handy.
Different portions of the keyboard. You can have like the core part of the keyboard, and then you can have the number pad, or you don't have to have the number pad. You can put just LED lights. There's talk of some kind of like a touch screen interface too. That would be an output. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but there was talk of that. And I think that's pretty cool as well. And no, I'm not shilling for framework. I just think it's cool. I like the technology. I think it's groovy. Totally radical.
Yeah, I was just going to add, they're doing a really great job of advertising the concept and the idea of reusing things. I think the motherboard, they're going to have it so you can take it out and use it as a desktop. Mm-hmm. And they've done such a good job of rallying companies to the cause that I think they've already, I forget the company, but I think they've already managed to find someone who's going to make a case for it and the adapters for the motherboard to be able to become a desktop. I just want to add, there's also somebody who built a conversion kit. They did it on Tindy, but they built a conversion kit that allows you to take the touchpad and the keyboard and turn it into a USB interface. So it's not just the motherboard that you can convert. You can also convert the keyboard and touchpad now. And I think they're also going to make a marketplace. Yeah, they're going to make a marketplace for all these third-party hardware guys, whether it be individuals on something like Tindy or like a big manufacturer, to make all of this aftermarket support. And that would, so in a way, they're kind of like building their own. Well, they're building like an ecosystem of reuse. Mm-hmm. So when this stuff, when you're done with your laptop, even if maybe you decided not to upgrade and it's time to put it out to pasture, that you can give it an afterlife as a USB device for, say, a desktop or a different computer. Likewise with the motherboard. But yeah, they impress me. I've been inside a lot of laptops and seeing the job that they've done. I mean, it's impressive, the level of engineering they put into every part. And I think they've really hit a home run with encouraging this kind of third-party ecosystem around their products. So yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. The marketplace isn't up yet. They are hiring for somebody if you're interested to set up the front-facing part of the marketplace and the e-commerce side of it. So maybe you want to check that out. But once it comes together, I mean, it's going to be something. And extending from that, just creating that in the first place, I think pulls people into the idea that they can make these kits, and they might expand from there and start making kits for other motherboards, or other laptops, even though they're not consistent with their form factors like Framework is going to be to enable that kind of third-party support. So yeah, I'm really impressed with the company, and I look forward to seeing where they go.
Now, I have to say, from a personal perspective on this, the fact that the components are modular and then they have all these different little kits and such for it, that I did see some. I have all these different like goofy ideas of what I want to do. I have like old cases to things, I have like an old Atari 2600 case that I'll turn into a modern computer, and I think the Framework main board would be perfect for that. and I could 3D print and design some other
Nice.
supports for it. I have an old Macintosh Classic that I want to make like a portable computer. That seems to be a good fit for that as well. So anyway, I just think there's so many possibilities like in the maker space that you can turn these things into really cool things, cool projects, and do, you know, whatever you can dream of, you can do that. And then the parts are very accessible. And actually, I think the marketplace is already somewhat stood up, maybe not for resell, but they do have refurbished things on there now. And you can buy the main boards by themselves.
I didn't see that.
So like $399 for just like an i5, I can't remember which generation, main board. And that might be pretty close to perfect for me, I think.
Yeah, it's just like I can't say enough how happy I am that they're doing that. I mean, that guy I talked about on Tindy, I've been following him for a while. He's done conversion kits for other laptop motherboards and touchpads, but people on Tindy usually discontinue the adapter kits that they make because, first of all, the form factors keep changing in these laptops with these manufacturers, and second of all, there isn't the interest. Like, people can't find them. A lot of people, don't even consider the concept of, turning their the laptop keyboard and touchpad into
something else,
a device that can be used for other things. Like, it's not front of mind. So what Framework is doing is breathing life into these people who are willing to make these kits, and I think that's awesome. Like, if he can do better, that's cool. I'll post the links too in the Telegram to his Tindy if somebody gets a Framework and they're interested in the kit. Yeah.
So Leo says,
yeah, it's cool.
Leo, directing toward you, said they already have 3D printed or pre-order Cooler Master cases. And Sean Gold says, I think there are free models to print a 3D case for your old Framework motherboard. Yeah, I've seen some of those, yeah. And also then Leo follows up saying, and that community is what Dell won't fully support or support fully. That's why Framework is a winner. And that might be the scrappy underdog, like, Alienware might get sucked up by somebody like an HP or Dell, who knows? Or maybe they might stay independent. We'll see how much, what kind of endurance the company has. What do you think, Adam? Do you think the Framework is the future of computers, or do you think laptops, or do you think that this is just an aberration?
I think as far as it being a quote unquote future of laptops, it really just has to be based on standards. Like, the only reason computers nowadays are so modular is because they've all standardized on stuff like PCI Express. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys, I'm sure a lot of you know about, like, micro-channel architectures that were back in the day, or NuBus and all these other things, right? And like, the only reason we praise the modularity is because they're all standardized. So yeah, so if you have, a standard that gets adopted, then yeah, it's an awesome device and it's a paradigm shift. But outside of that, gimmick, I guess.
Well, they use a lot of USB-C on this for the modularity, so that's a standard there, which makes
the modules themselves are USB-C modules.
Correct.
Right, but are you gonna have those sticking out of your normal laptop?
No, they're built inside of it, like they clip inside.
Right, the modules like slide in, right?
Correct.
But the module is not going to be used anywhere else unless they have that bay to slide it in, right?
Yeah, I mean,
you have to then convince everyone that this is a worthy thing, and yeah, it's not so much that it couldn't be a standard, it's that it's not a standard.
My guess is
and until it is a standard,
I think it has potential to be a standard. I do believe they've open sourced those designs. Like, I think, because I've seen other people make their own modules so they can pop them in their Framework. I would have probably made them slightly bigger, just ever so slightly, so you can have a few more options. But
I was just going to say, because it's standardized around USB-C. While yes, I mean, it is, I guess you could call that a proprietary slot because it's got to be X dimensions to slot in. You could use a USB-C extender cable. I don't know of a company that makes one that I trust yet, but you could use the USB-C extender cable and just plug it into a desktop or another device, or straight into a port if you had room, because the adapter is a bit bulky because it is like a little brick. So
Right. And
It's
I guess,
not like they made a proprietary solution.
right. And the designs of it being open source and the idea that you using USB-C is perfectly great. I mean, for all intents and purposes, a lot of devices internal to your machine are on a USB bus anyway, right? This is just adding a connector to the same kind of idea. But it's a matter of whether or not the other manufacturers would want to go that route. And that's where it all falls apart, right? Because PCI, ISA cards, PCI Express, all these were useful enough and unobtrusive enough that they became a standard. But with machines getting varying degrees of, form factor, whether they be a convertible machine or like a 2-in-1 or any number of these designs, finding a way to fit in the modularity into that design becomes increasingly difficult, while also still manufacturing them, to a certain extent, right? And so the framework stuff is great. I applaud them for their efforts. I do. I just don't really see the other manufacturers jumping on, because the modularity itself, I don't think most of their customers care.
That could be.
And manufacturing to a certain degree can be more difficult. I mean, it's kind of why a lot of stuff is soldered on the board now. It's cheaper. You can build chips faster instead of having to worry about sockets and other things that might be limiting. And I think it's just a matter of the economics of building something that isn't super expensive while also providing that. I think there could be products that they could use, like workstation laptops or business grade stuff, like ThinkPads, you used to pop out drives and stuff like that, and batteries and all that kind of thing. I think the business world could definitely benefit from that, but I don't know. It's hard to say. It would have to be a standard for it to be. It would have to be a standard for it to really work.
It's on par.
I was just going to say, Leo in the comment. Oh, sorry, Leo made a comment. I think I'm misusing the word proprietary, because it is open source for the dimensions of the slot.
I think it means
I guess
bespoke.
I just say that. Yeah, I guess
is that a better word? Bespoke.
It's bespoke. Yeah. It's homemade. Get some Play-Doh, just squish it in there, and shove your device, and you're done. Yeah, I guess I'd just say that I think the real, I guess maybe you could call it a gimmick, but the gimmick to it is that you're making this adapter, this USB-C adapter, flush with the chassis, and that's all it is. And you don't even have to use the adapters, because the adapter just plugs into a USB-C port in the back. So if you want a USB-C port that's flushed with your chassis, it's literally just USB-C to USB-C. It's like a little extender. So in terms of being able to use it with other things, it's like you're just choosing whether or not you want it to be flush.
Right. Did you want it to stick out or not,
Yeah.
But as far as like the removable GPU and stuff, I've seen that in the past, right? Alienware had many machines in like the early 2010s that had removable, upgradable GPUs, and it went nowhere because two reasons. One, it was exclusive to Alienware's products, and two, there really wasn't a compelling reason to do it, because by the time the GPUs started to become obsolete to the point of replacement, the CPUs themselves were also kind of ready to be replaced. And it's kind of like this is a little bit of a stretch, but with the original Xbox, why did they never make any other like slim models or whatever? Because it was too expensive, because the hard drive. But then when they came out with the 360, you got all these different models that came out with bigger and bigger hard drives, right? Well, the reason is that by the time they needed to upgrade the hard drive, and they were making units, that a bigger hard drive was just as cheap as the old smaller one, right? And so there's really no reason, there wasn't much of a compelling reason to offer like a bunch of hard drive options. Like at the, like you can upgrade the hard drive in the 360, but by the time the bigger hard drive comes out, you want the slim model anyway, because yours is red ringing or whatever, right? And I think that's kind of the thing with the framework, is it's cool as like a modular thing. Like, oh, I don't use Ethernet. Let me pop that out and pop in another set of USB ports, right? That's cool. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see that on a lot of machines, including desktops, right? Which you can do with expansion cards in a way. But then like a removable GPU and all that, it's like by the time I go to replace that GPU with something newer, it's probably time to get a new machine anyway.
It could be, but then you can, in that 16-inch, you can then replace the main board as well. So that's also a thing. You can,
right.
So it has the. I see what you're saying, and I think the fact that you have replaceable main boards kind of makes it compelling. So for me, someone who likes to play in the maker space, dabble in the maker space, because I like to make things, I basically see this as, rather than me struggling to try and repurpose something because the company is inherently stopping me from using these parts for something else, this company is saying, here you go, do whatever you want with it. It's your hardware, make it, it's your oyster, right. Make it your pearl. Sorry,
go ahead.
That's what is compelling to me. And I don't know if gimmick is I mean, it's a gimmick. Everyone's got their shtick. So
it's not that gimmick is not necessarily a bad word.
No,
it just means a unique selling point, a unique thing it does, right?
Yep. It is. It's been turned into
a bad word, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I guess then is it that framework offers a functional advantage, or does it offer a moral advantage?
I think it's a little bit
and
of
then
both.
you have to kind of weigh is it both? Like, are they actually engineering a better computer because of the modularity, or are they engineering a better computer because of the moral take on e-waste and other things?
I think that's a big part of it, but I think they're engineering a better computer for me, is what I'm going to go ahead and say, because I can then choose the configuration.
It's kind of my point, I guess, is that it's a very like personal thing, right? And I feel like when you ask the manufacturers like HP, Dell, etc., they're not thinking of an individual. They're thinking of a broad category. And like, that's why ultimately the question was, is this going to be the future? It's hard to say because I don't see them caring about individuals unless that number of individuals who care about it grows. But I haven't seen that borne out either. So as much as I'm with you, man. I would love for repairability. I would love for sustainability. I just don't see that the economics right now point to that. We just need a revolution. Put some people against the wall and solve the problem. But...
oh boy. So
that escalated quickly.
It did. So for me, like, I was unsure about the company initially because I'm like, I've seen a lot of really great ideas, and I didn't, really buy into them. But I think what I find compelling about this is, one, they've stuck through, but two, the machine is, they now offer new boards and everything else too, so you can actually upgrade. I think they start with 11th generation, now they're up to 13th generation Intel, now they have an AMD option. And the fact that they're talking about a marketplace as well, and the fact they have open sourced specs and so forth. So for me, it's like, I have a technology obsession, if that makes sense. I don't know if obsession's the right word. I have a I'm a technology enthusiast, maybe to an unhealthy level, I will admit. Like, I keep things I probably shouldn't. I don't like throwing away electronics. They were scarce when I was young, and so now they're more plentiful, so I hang on to things when I probably shouldn't. And to me, I feel like I don't like e-waste. I don't like filling up landfills full of precious metals and whatnot. And I think even though the prices of this is more expensive than a consumer grade laptop, it is on par, like a 13-inch is on par with other 13-inch business grade machines, and it seems to be built well. So I think then that lends to maybe less e-waste in the long term, because other people can use it. It's very easy to repurpose.
Right. But the original question was, do I think it's the future? Not do I think it's the future we should have?
It's not the future you want, but it's the future you deserve. Like that?
Probably.
Yeah. So Jeremy Smith says a mandatory 10-year support of all computer hardware and forced open sourcing of all drivers after 10 years. I almost just kind of think, I don't know if I want to like put anything mandatory. I don't know that. I know that I don't want to go that route, but I think that maybe there should be some sort of if you abandon this, then you have to open source it. That'd be kind of a nice thing, I think, or something. I don't know. Yes, Sean, a technology aficionado, something like that. I like that. That's good. Anyway.
I prefer the term turbo nerd.
Turbo. I'll go with turbo nerd. That's pretty exciting.
Have you guys seen the Zima board? It's an SBC. It's got a PCI Express slot, and you can plug a video card into it. If I'd have one gripe, it's that I would love to have a slot like that. It does not make sense for what their engineers appear to be doing is making like this sleekest possible, most beautiful, elegant laptop that they can make, and to the degree possible, they're gonna make it as reusable as they can. But they seem very focused on making it as lovely as a laptop as they possibly can. So it's a bit hard for them to slap a big old like full size PCI Express slot on the back. But man, I would love one, and if maybe in a future model they could make it work, that would be amazing. I think they're going with a special. Almost use the word proprietary. They're going with an open sourced connector that I think it uses pogo pins or something, and that's going to be for the GPU that you can slot in the back. But yeah, I mean, if they could do a full size PCI Express slot, that'd be great. But hey, a man could dream.
Yeah, or even if they didn't like a full size one, at least one of those larger, not like a more than just one lane or whatever. That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, one of those. The like an M.2 style slot.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be cool, but I kind of just want to be able to just plug in like a big honking GPU into there when I'm using it like a desktop and plug it out and go about my business. So I want my cake, and I don't want to eat it too.
We can kind of do that with USB-C, with Thunderbolt. I should say with Thunderbolt, you can kind of get it. You can do an external GPU if you really want. I don't know how.
I guess that is true.
I don't know.
And what was the name of that, Off-Night?
The Zima board. Highly recommend checking it out. I think it's priced relatively well. I can't remember where it's located. But I'll post a link to it in the Telegram, so everybody has it. And I'll make sure I'll give it.
You can put it in the show notes too. That's an interesting idea. I like it.
Yeah.
Anytime there's
anything I can find it right now. Put it on YouTube.
Yeah. Did everybody hear the exciting news that Linux Kernel 6.3 is officially released? It introduces new Intel VPU DRM accelerated driver, big TCP support for IP4, and native Steam Deck controller support. That, I think, is a huge win. And also, so VPU is versatile processing unit. It supports in the 14th generation Intel Meteor Lake. Has a Rust code support for x86-64 user mode, and also ZBB bit manipulation extension for RISC-V kernels. So a lot of things in this. So if you're on Debian, you'll get it, 4 years from now? So get ready. That was a poke at Debian, for those, I don't know if you picked up on that.
Stable,
yeah. Unless you do SID, then you might get it next year. Linux Kernel 6.3 also improves Thunderbolt support by adding DisplayPort bandwidth allocation mode. It improves support for the Lenovo Yoga Tab 3 tablet. Adds support for the 8-bit Do Pro 2-wired controller.
I go by whatever's supported first. I find out what I like, and then I find out if it's supported. I suppose I do in that order. Maybe that's not the best, but that's how I've been doing it.
I kind of think that's the struggle with single board computers that are ARM based, is they don't follow there's not like a unified standard with ARM, and also there is no real power management unless you have like the M1, M2 chips. They have no real power management, so like you can use a Pine 64 or Raspberry Pi computer but you can't do things like suspend it or any of those like different like power states. You can't do any of that stuff with these ARM-based computers right now. So I think that they're great. I absolutely love the single board computers. Like I'm a huge fan. I just think, they're good for what they're good for, and not good for general purpose computers at this point. So until some work's being done on that, also making them more universal, so that you can have one image that'll go on any of the ARM devices, that would be great. But we're not there yet either.
If you could get like the boot time to be like 3 to 5 seconds, I don't think it matters at that point. If you could just reboot in 5 seconds, 3 seconds, then you don't need the sleep for practical purposes.
Right.
But unless if you're like in the middle of a thing, like there's been more than one case where I start editing, like let's say Linux Saloon or whatever on a Sunday. I start in the morning and then I have to relocate, so I suspend to RAM, do the sleep thing, move to another location, turn it back on, work for a little bit more, shut it back down, go someplace else, work on it again. So I do a lot of, moving around when I work, and that's actually the beauty of a laptop. And I couldn't do that with an ARM-based device because I can't just lock everything in place. And there's something to be said for being able to do that. I mean, you get those power states on a mobile, on a phone or whatever, tablets, but they don't have it on a more general purpose like a Raspberry Pi. And I just don't understand why.
Well, the Raspberry Pi is not meant to be used on battery, right? For the most part. I mean, you can if you have like a big enough like battery to plug it in. But I mean, it's pretty much like a desktop, right? For the most part. That's where it has the official wall outlet thing. There's not really like an official like portable I don't know, takes like a battery or something. You can add it that way, but I mean, it's not.
There's a UPS module you can add to it, and it works okay. It doesn't have the groovy power states that you might have like with a desktop UPS or a built-in battery for a laptop. But those do exist, and those are a thing. I have one on the 3D printed computer that I built.
I would think there'd be a huge demand for that suspend and such, because these devices are driving they're embedded into various things like treadmills and who knows, maybe they put in weather stations and remote devices and such, and those things maybe they do need to sleep once in a while.
Go to a low powered state anyway, or like a super low powered state.
Yeah.
And this kind of goes back to what the problem with Raspberry Pi is. It's supposed to be for like kids to learn programming and other things, but then the hobbyist community got involved, and then people want to use it for other things. And as far as I know, the foundation got a big discount because it was supposed to be a nonprofit. And now all these companies are using Raspberry Pis for commercial purposes, which was not the agreement that they had with the Raspberry Pi Foundation when they gave them the discounts for the manufacturing.
Yeah, actually, and even businesses they like the Raspberry Pi so much. It was great for prototyping concepts that a lot of them bought them for doing different human machine interface concepts as well. So I mean, there was a lot of things that massive interest in the Raspberry Pi. You have all those GPIOs and everything else. So there is that.
There has actually been discussion that they're going to lose those discounts because the manufacturers have lost money on their they see all these numbers and they're like, we're losing all this money because we'll be making money right now because they're going around the agreement that they had.
Yeah. Isn't some of it supply chain security? So having it be made in, I'm actually not sure where they're made. They're made in the UK? Like literally manufactured, not just assembled?
I don't know.
That I don't know. I don't know where they're made.
Here's an exciting story. Not sure who put it in the notes, but I think this is pretty cool. So Ubuntu may soon offer a better window tiling experience.
I added that.
You added that.
It's an OMG Ubuntu article.
Mm-hmm.
It speculates that it might have come out with the newest version, but obviously it didn't come out then. But maybe it comes out for next version. And it talks about how right now with GNOME you can only do half the screen tiling, like left and right.
Mm-hmm.
But Ubuntu's working possibly on a way for you to get quarter tiling, like you can do with most other desktops, like XFCE, Mate, Plasma. And that's one of the things I always miss when I use GNOME. I can't do the quarter tiling.
Yep. Yeah, the quarter tiling is great, especially if you have a larger screen too. It's fantastic. I do like, so they're showing in that article how you can shift all the windows. Like it'll actually dynamically shift when you start shifting one of them. That's something that I can't seem to reliably do in Plasma. I know that it does work sort of, but it doesn't really work exactly. For me anyway. Maybe I'm holding it wrong, but it's not working quite like I would expect. Anybody here use tiling features on their desktop? Jinda, you do?
Yeah. Not really.
Yeah, I always loved them. I always thought they were great.
Vince uses i3, but he only uses floating windows.
I tried Sway for a bit. And Sway is it's like the Wayland equivalent of i3, and I really gave it a good go. Put a ton of time into doing the configs and so on, but the one problem with it is that whenever you bring something up new, all your windows move around, which just drove me crazy because you'd want to like look at something quickly and put it away, and as soon as you open it's like everything shifts. So that little niggly detail kind of irritated me.
All right, I just tried on my computer that the tiling thing, like they're seeing in this demonstration here that's on OMG Ubuntu, where you can, I quarter tiled, then half tiled a window. And if I do try and move them, it will actually dynamically move all of them. Like they'll all kind of shift accordingly. That's pretty cool, I gotta say. So with the latest Plasma, apparently has it all worked out now. I really like that a lot. Fantastic.
That is very useful.
That's
one. So I'm not sure why GNOME hasn't implemented that, but pretty much I've been using GNOME for a while now. I just hit the Windows button and just look for the window that I'm searching for. So I think that's the way they planned on the desktop being used for it, pretty much.
I say that the tiling is like super handy, like when I'm multitasking or like comparing a lot of things. It's less handy on my laptop because it's a small screen. Like on this machine here with the 1440p screen. Is that 2K? What is that called?
Right.
Just 1440p? I don't know. Anyway, it's a 1440p, so I got a lot of I'm real estate, and it's really handy to be able to tile stuff very rapidly and then shift stuff around. Like when I'm recording Linux Out Loud, I have like my show notes. I like to watch what I'm recording, and I have Discord, and so I can just throw them all into corners, and then I can adjust it. But actually, now that there's been this improvement here, this makes it even cooler. So, yeah, it's pretty nice. I like it. And the fact that they cleaned this up and made it even better. I
think that sounds like it's working the same as what Windows does, isn't it? Because Windows does dynamically. If you got a half and then you select another window, it just brings it up on the other half. Is that how it's working? Something like that?
It works similar to that, but the way Windows does it, it's kind of clunky, I think. Because every time you tile something, it automatically wants you to select something else, but you can't. I don't know if you can do quarter tiling in Windows.
Yeah, true.
I've not been able to do quarter tiling. I've tried it.
Windows 11 has some pretty awesome tiling options, actually. If you drag a window like toward the top of the screen, like a thing drops down and it has a bunch of layouts you can choose where to put the window in. It's actually really neat.
I've been shamefully, not really shamefully, but I've been using Windows 11 quite a bit, and I found the tiling to be somewhat aggravating.
Well, I imagine the Windows 11 tiling that was talked about is kind of like the way Budgie does it. How it has like a little menu, you can select it there for like different positions. Is that the way it is?
I know. For me, I tile it to one side, and then it forces me to select something else. So, immediately,
there's more advanced options than that. Like you can have it do quarter tiling. You can have it do like 3 columns. You can have it do a bunch of different options. It's actually a lot more nuanced than just side by side.
Yeah, but I was trying KDE on OpenSUSE Tumbleweed the other day, just checking out, because OpenSUSE actually has their desktops. They update quicker than what Arch does, because I was looking at Arch the other day, and I was wondering why GNOME 44 hadn't come through, but unbeknownst to me, they don't update the GNOME desktop until the first point release. So I wasn't aware of that. And but the KDE Plasma has got some nice stuff going on, like you said, with the is it called the overview or something like that? I think it's called overview or something in Plasma. It's quite nice though.
Where you see where it displays all your applications at once.
Yeah, and also the different what do you call them? Desktops up the top. Is that the same one or is it a different one? I'm thinking of workspaces. Sorry, it shows all your workspaces, doesn't it? Is that right? The workspaces. Maybe you're using another one.
I don't know. I use the Plasma, but I didn't notice the workspaces. Just that the different applications. Maybe I just don't. Maybe I have it not configured correctly, which could be since it's a bit.
I think it was Windows W, the super key and W or something like that, or something, or A or something, and then
yep.
And then it brings up Open Windows plus Workspaces, and you can type for applications, which was pretty cool as well. I thought that was nice little touch.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't see that option. That's a very cool option. I'm really glad you showed me.
Okay. Yeah.
Hot dog.
Is it A or was it W?
It's W.
It's W. Okay.
Yeah. Like winning. That's what it stands for.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty cool, I must say, because Plasma never had that, and GNOME always had like the overview anyway with the super button, but Plasma seems to have a lot more options now, which is pretty cool.
If you take a look at my camera there, you can see the Windows desktop here.
Oh, yeah.
So if you drag the window to the top here, there's a bunch of different layouts.
Oh,
they have.
Look at that.
Oh,
and you can tile it like however you need to.
Oh, yeah, I think I've seen that before. Is that the Windows one or
11?
Or
Windows
Plasma?
11, yeah.
Windows 11. Oh, okay.
I think Ubuntu Bungie has something like that at least.
Yeah.
Like kind of like something similar.
What, they're preset? Are they preset in Budgie now?
These are
they?
Oh.
Yeah, there's like a menu you hit, and then you can like organize your windows that way.
Yeah, I did some videos about that thing, but it's probably got a bit better since then.
And Microsoft has another tool called like Fancy Zones. It's part of their Power Toys that lets you kind of do the same thing, but a lot more customizable than just the one that's built in.
Well, that's pretty cool, actually.
That's pretty cool.
I think the to tile it in 3 sections would be.
I also think additional layouts open up depending on the resolution of the display as well, like the DPI of the display.
Right.
So like a bigger 4K monitor would have different layouts than say like a 1080p monitor.
Yeah, I did notice you don't have your menu bar at the bottom set up how I like it. So could you fix that, Adam? I like it the old-fashioned way of putting everything to one side. Could you fix that for me?
Oh, you mean because it's centered?
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll get on that. I'll let you know.
All right. I had to fix that with my my Windows 11 setup.
The notice will be in the post.
I can say also that I don't really like what they did with OneNote in the new in Windows 11, and like the tabs that they have at the top, because if you have lots of notebooks now, then it's a little bit less fun. Maybe it's configurable. I don't know.
I guess I'm just used to the center thing because like GNOME's like that and Mac OS is like that. Now Windows is like that. I don't know. Chrome OS, I think, did they move to the left? They used to be in the center. I don't know.
So anyway, I think it's great. Ubuntu is offering better window tiling soon. A better window tiling experience soon.
Are they taking anything from Pop OS's desktop or anything, or
I don't know.
It's just their own thing.
Not sure. But here's another interesting article. I think it might be the last one before we have to move on. Passwordless Google accounts are here. You can now switch to passkey-only. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Wasn't there an issue that someone had with malicious attackers taking tokens out of your browser?
The way this works is, I think it's only for the phones right now, but I think there's a standard that it doesn't require the phone, but I think right now it's just phones. So basically, your phone creates like a private key,
okay,
and it uses like public keys to communicate your password to the server, to whatever you're trying to connect to.
Mm-hmm.
So that way you're actually sharing like the code. The code changes with time and everything. And it's supposed to be, you can only use it if you have your Face ID or whatever, like a like it records your face, so it authenticates that way, or a fingerprint or a PIN. So whenever you sign into, let's say, Google, you would need that to do one of those three options, and then it would sign in for you. Now, there's also problems. I think people are saying that what happens if you lose your phone?
Yeah.
I think you can have multiple devices for this, so that might not be an issue. But I don't even think if there's a way you can transfer the token. I guess you would just have to have multiple devices and then like remove them from authority once you have like another device. But this is the way that they have figured out for you to not have an actual password. And since it's on your phone, let's say with the fingerprint or your Face ID or something like that, some kind of face recognition, then that protects the password itself, and it's not going to give the actual private key to anybody. It's going to be within the actual device. It's not being given to Google or anybody else. And this was made by a group that includes Google, of course, Apple, and I don't know how many other companies. But it's just starting out. But this is supposed to be the future, a passwordless future with just passkeys.
I'd prefer to have my own passwords, to be honest.
Yeah, same here.
One of the things that this does is that this doesn't it doesn't have the flaw that TOP, I forget what the term is, but you know how you can put like a little code from like Google Authenticator and
TOTP.
as a multi-factor authentication. The problem with that is if you go to the wrong website and you give them that code, they could enter the website for you using your own code. But this doesn't work that way. So this wouldn't fall prey to that, I think. So this is better that way. It doesn't fall for like the man in the middle attack that way. But it's really early days, and it almost seems questionable how all this is going to work, because it seems like they're almost trying to circumvent or maybe get rid of password managers at that point.
Seems like it could do that. I really like password managers. Okay, I like one password manager of two that I've used now. I haven't actually tried. What is the one that Mark uses? KeePass.
KeePassXC.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, KeePassXC. Yeah.
So
KeePassXC.
I have to use one for work called Keeper. Not very good.
Do you use Bitwarden?
I use Bitwarden, yeah, but for work, like they have a corporate policy. It's actually a little wider than corporate. Well, they're a corporate policy that I've fallen in on, and they use Keeper. And then for a two-factor authentication, they use Duo. We'll see.
One thing interesting about this KeePass thing is that if you had that like super secure mode for your Google accounts, you know, like if let's say you're like a politician or like a news reporter or something, some kind of journalist, that maybe somebody's trying to steal your password and everything, and you have to get like the dual hardware key in order to gain access to your account. This supersedes that. So you wouldn't actually be required in order to get that mode in your accounts, you could just use this passkey system. You wouldn't need to buy the hardware keys. They say this is even better than that, supposedly. I guess because it's probably more simple and it's cheaper, assuming you have multiple devices, I'm guessing. Otherwise, I mean, you're not going to buy another phone, right?
Right.
Is this a proprietary solution? And now I'm using the word proprietary the right way.
I think
is it software that has to come from Google?
It's a standard, but I'm not sure if it's an open standard. I know it's a standard that they came up with between Apple, Google, and I don't know what other kind of companies. I forgot exactly what the companies are.
Yeah, something that drives me crazy is there's some sites that will they'll say, oh, okay, cool, you're setting up your account, let's do TOTP, but they don't call it TOTP, they call it Google Authentication. And I'm like, it's just TOTP. Which is fine. But yeah, it's anybody pushing like a proprietary standard that requires me to install software in order to authenticate to use their service. I'm gonna have to really like their service to be okay with that. So yeah, that's sucks if Google's trying to push that.
Yeah, the thing is, if it's super convenient, people are going to go to it, and it might squeeze out competition in that space.
Yeah, convenience. That's how they get you.
Yuppers. I don't know. I think so I've used different authenticators too. I have I use Bitwarden. I also use the Microsoft one. I've just been trying different ones just to see how it goes. The Microsoft authenticator I think is pretty slick. So when I'm logging into Minecraft, it requires me to basically hit a button on my phone. Is it match the right button or whatever? I think that's pretty nice. Although I don't like having to have my phone all the time. I don't like locking things to my phone, I guess is my issue. That's my big issue. If I could eliminate the usage of my phone as much as possible, that's the win for me.
That's two-factor authentication though, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
You've heard about the
Which
only key.
The only key.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I was gonna say the only key will do your TOTP from a hardware-based USB device. You do need software installed to tell that device what time it is, so it knows how to do the TOTP. But basically, if you have that device unlocked, you press one button and it's going to type in the answer to the TOTP request for the particular site that you're on. So if you want to make life easy, that's one way of doing it.
All right, I just want to be able to point out, Michael Whalen Jr. says, I use the Microsoft app on my phone, and I agree with you, Nate. So somebody agrees with me, and I appreciate that. So thank you, Michael. You made my day.
But what does he agree with you about OpenSUSE? Is that what he's talking about?
No, the Microsoft app.
No, the
authenticator. But he can agree with that too. That'd be great. Yeah, so I guess I don't know about the about this excitement here with the with Google's doing
it's
this.
Just so much that people are really bad at coming up with passwords. That's why password 12329 is still a password that a lot of people use. And this is a way for people not to have actual passwords. But I don't know how secure this is going to be at the end of the day. Seems secure, but I guess this is the time where people are going to start actually hitting this thing and finding out how actual secure it is.
So,
and covers them too.
The reason I like Bitwarden is I have the same functionality on the desktop application as I do on my phone. So I can do that two-factor authentication without even using my phone at all. And I think that is slicker and snot on a brass doorknob. That to me is just really, I would like to go more toward things like Bitwarden. Because it's open source too. And, I guess from an idealistic as well as my workflow, I think it's the best. Well, we do have to pick our application for next week. Eris, would you like to go over that straw poll?
Okay. The final straw poll.
So if you have not voted yet in this straw poll of what we should do next week for our application appetizer, it'd be really cool if you did.
So these are mostly, I guess for the majority of these, some of these are my ideas. But I did get them from the list that we have of applications possibilities. So some of them.
Okay.
And if anybody at any point has any suggestions, you can just send it to Nate, which is what email, Nate?
Actually, it really doesn't matter where you send them. It just helps with my filtration. If you send them to suggestions@linuxsaloon.com, you can also send it to nate@linuxsaloon.com. You basically send it to anything you want at linuxsaloon.com, I'll get that, and then I can file it accordingly. So,
or you can send me a message on Discord, Telegram, or Matrix.
Yep.
Okay. Refresh one last time. Okay. With 32%, the number one is VIM Tutor, and number two is 27% with Veracrypt. 21% says Tux Penguin. 11% said Fullbar 2000, and 6% said Wiki. I'm not even sure how you say that one. And for anybody who doesn't know what that is, this is this application so that you can read Wikipedia, but it changes the format So let's say like the index that is at the beginning of an article, you can use that throughout the article. You don't have to scroll all the way up.
That's cool.
Distro2 made a video about that recently. So those are the results. I didn't get any replies for this poll.
What is foobar 2000?
Foobar 2000 is a Windows program that does plays music, of course.
Yeah, it's a music player.
And you can it also has a lot of other features, like you can add the FLAC program to encode convert flags into MP3s, into MP4s. You can also rename your songs, your files based on like song names, title names. You can enter the information, the metadata information for your files too. And it has a lot of other plugins. And you can get it through Snap. There's a Snap that keeps up to date with it, all the development. And Jinda just posted the link.
Thank you, Jinda. Well, that's pretty cool. Let's keep that one on the list.
I chose foobar 2000 just because of the name. I had no idea what it was.
It's like a computer grammar lingo with foo, like anything programming, like foo this, foo that.
Yeah.
Well, they kind of spelled foobar wrong maybe on purpose. Well, I think we all know what foobar means, so.
That's why I chose it.
Well, it's spelled wrong. I mean, it's not really it.
It's the pronunciation that's right.
But yeah, that's correct.
I guess I'm not.
So there's no.
I think the program is open source. Just to mention that, I think it's an LGPL license.
So there's no Flatpak for that. Just Snap.
I don't believe so. It uses Wine to get to make it work on Linux, and it's all snapped up in the Snap. It's all together in Snap. You just install Snap and it works.
FlatHub.
So we have to come up with what FOOBAR means. Not right now.
No, it's not in FlatHub, that's for sure. Just so people know.
So does this mean we're doing VIM Tutor next week?
Well, it looks like Veracrypt is now tied with Vim and VIM Tutor. So somebody voted, and now Veracrypt.
Oh, now we're tied. Oh, we're foobarred now for sure.
Veracrypt. What interesting things is Veracrypt?
So,
disk encryption with strong security key.
So Veracrypt, if anybody ever heard of TrueCrypt, it was a cross-platform encryption program that you could use so that, let's say, it encrypts your whole computer for like Windows, or you can just encrypt like a file, or maybe encrypt a drive. And it was open source, but then the developers just disappeared. They said that since I forgot if it was Windows 7 or something came up with BitLocker, they said that effective of this date, we're not developing it anymore. And nobody knows exactly what happened to them, I think. But TrueCrypt was audited. People paid, and it was audited for security, and it did pretty good. It did have some flaws, and those were incorporated into Veracrypt. There's also ZuluCrypt, I think, is the Linux one. But Veracrypt is cross-platform. It's on Mac, Linux, and Windows.
So if you are running OpenSUSE, it's actually right there in the OBS. So there's that. And it does support Raspbian 11. No, maybe, I was going to say Debian 11.
So it encrypts your hard drive. Is that what it's for?
It encrypts your hard drive. It can encrypt like a file. Like you can have like a folder. With
okay.
And
that's a good idea. I like the idea of a folder.
I think what it does, if I remember correctly, it installs a driver so that as soon as you like unencrypt it, it's able to read it like right away. It does take a while sometimes to like get the thing rolling for the encryption at first. If you're gonna make like, let's say like a 5 gig folder in your computer, and it tells you to like move your mouse around so that it has more entropy that way. And it's TrueCrypt was very for a lot of people it was like the only way that they would encrypt things, because since it was open source and it was very technical, they thought that this was like the only trustworthy way to actually encrypt their files, and it was very famous. And this is I guess a spiritual successor, because none of the same people are working on it.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think it might be fun to do. Anybody here have any trepidation with this?
I was going to say the reason why I put Vim also was because if we do Vim and people just memorize at least the Vim keys, like the navigation keys, there's another program that was suggested that was a Qt browser that uses the Vim keys to navigate, and you can navigate a web the web browser totally through the keyboard. You don't have to use your mouse to click on links. So that could be a follow-up if we do Vim.
That's cool too. I've always used cursor keys for Vim. I've never used anything else but cursor keys. Am I missing something?
So there's actually a video that I posted in the Linux Saloon, and it shows you how computers were back then, like along 30 years ago. And there was no standardization for cursor keys. And this is why the Vim keys, I guess, came about, because you always had HJKL or whatever in every keyboard, even if they didn't have cursor keys. So that's what this is like the standardization that Vim or VI did. And one advantage of using the Vim keys to navigate is that you don't move your fingers from the home row. Now, if you move your hand to the cursor, you lose like a second or two, and you might misclick on your way back to the home row. So this is why people who use Vim always talk about the great advantage of using Vim keys to navigate.
And so what keys are those in Vim to navigate? The J, K, L, and I?
I think it's HJKL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
HJKL.
And some people adjust it to be JKL and colon, so they could do the touch typing thing.
Because you would have to move your index to the left one.
Why would they use I for up?
What do you mean?
So.
Oh, you mean like using it as the cursor keys?
Yeah, kind of like that.
Oh, I think they asked the Vim creator, like for all the little shortcuts, like I think GG is for going to the next line or something. Why those shortcuts were made that way? And I think he didn't have an answer. He just thought he created it, he went along, I think. But of course,
I was going to say I might be getting this wrong, but I think the original creator of Vim was using a special type of machine. I forget what it was, but the arrow keys I think they were printed on the keys, and the keys that were printed on were J, K, L, and colon.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I have to look that up. I'll see if I can find it now.
Well, this sounds like a whole giant rabbit hole of excitement we can go down.
So for the Vim one, there's a program called VIM Tutor. And it's like a text version game that tells you, like, explains to you how to use Vim. So you're supposed to go through that, and then you get a fundamental understanding of how Vim works. Obviously, you're not going to be an expert, but
it's a text editor, right?
Yeah, it's a text editor.
Yeah.
And the way Vim works is there's like two modes, I think, at least two modes. There's like more than two modes, but let's just focus on two modes. One of them is just like entering the keys like a regular text editor. And the other one is where you use one key to, let's say, go down to the end of the file, or go all the way to the top, or let's say go on to the next word, or skip to the next line, or stuff like that. And if you manage to remember all these shortcuts, you can really speed up let's say for Linux, working on configuration files.
Would it be unreasonable to say, can we just like do both, and then if you want to do Veracrypt or Vim/Vim Tutor, you can do that? Would that be unreasonable to do that?
I like that.
Appetizer? Mark likes that idea. Okay.
If it's a tie, it's a tie, right? Let's see how it goes.
Let's see how it goes. Yeah. All right, I like it, because I'll probably try both. I want to compare personally Veracrypt to the KDE vaults that I use and see how they, usability on that. And then I think that playing with Vim Tutor, for me anyway, Vim Tutor might be just a fun thing to do. So I'm all for that.
By the way, I put the quick reference card that I use to learn VI, and it's kind of a visual quick reference. I put that link in the chats, and that's the one that helped me.
Cool.
Put it up on my desk, made all the SOC analysts put it on their desk, and that's how I learned to navigate around.
That link has what Ulfnick was talking about with the keyboard with the arrows exactly in the Vim keys.
Yeah, if you you'll see a picture there too. When Bill Joy created the VI text editor, he used the ADM-3A terminal, which had the arrows on H, J, K, and L keys.
That's pretty cool. Well, I'm gonna save these little links here.
I've experienced Vim in some what can you say? Some of these distros that install with command line, and absolutely was totally lost completely. I had no idea how to save, how to close, how to do anything, because I've never used it before. So if you've never used it before, you can be completely lost. And I think I watched a couple of Derek's video or DistroTube's videos where he was explaining how these things work, because I had no idea. I got a rough idea, but still I'd be lost, I think. I think you type WQ to quit or something.
Yep.
And quit, is it?
I think you type colon WQ exclamation point, and that just tells you I want to exit now.
Yeah, no confirmation.
Exclamation as well. Didn't know about that one.
I think so. Because otherwise it asks you just for noise.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
It bypasses the confirmation. So I learned VI when I was using Unix, HP Unix, about 2002-ish. And so I had no problem using VI or anything else. It would, to me, I think back then my brain was young and supple and could handle it. And now, and so it's just kind of stuck. So
Colin, a recommendation to you would be to use micro. So if you're hopping into a TTY or you're doing a terminal install, just sudo apt install micro, and that'll give you, I can't remember the name for it. I think it's called an IBM Common User Interface. I think that's the term, and that's the X11 Wayland Windows way of doing things with regular keys and moving around your text editor.
I've been most of my life just a desktop user, so that's the way I've pretty much presented my videos as well. But I have done the command line installs and all that as well. But I've pretty much maintained to be a desktop user. So when I first started editing files and stuff, I used to run Linux Mint, but I would open it as root, open a folder as root, but then you double click and it opens up in gedit or something. Because gedit was like, oh yeah, I know how to use this.
There you go.
I know how to use Nano, and I got used to that. And I love using Nano now. Maybe some people don't, but
I'm sorry, Colin. I'm sorry.
But that's just the way my brain can get it. But I'm willing to try new things. It's always good to try and experiment anyway, I suppose.
So,
I'm no coder.
Ron H says the philosophy is that you spend most of your time in a text editor editing concerning Vim, not typing. Hence, that's why it is the default mode. Then you just hit I for insert mode, escape to get back to normal mode. And I guess that makes sense.
Oh. So you I to insert, which means you're editing, and is that right?
It means you just type whatever letter you want and it types the letter.
Oh, okay.
Versus the other one where it has a lot of commands or like movements to the.
And Leo says.
What I don't understand is.
So Ulfnick.
Nano is king.
Leo says Nano is king. So I think you two are gonna have to duke it out.
I feel like I'm making and losing friends like in real time here. But
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
All right, lead the revolution, Adam. All right,
I will, man.
I kind of wanted to know how Ulfnick felt when Fedora switched over to Nano.
It's I don't know why operating systems ship it, like period.
For people like
I
me.
know there was a time. Yeah, I mean it's easier to use. And when I first came to Linux, I was using Nano, and I was like, oh, cool, like the instructions are there, and it's I could get by. But nowadays, I mean, Micro's been out for years, and it is. I mean, it's if you can use Sublime Text, you can use Micro. Everything's more or less the same, and it even has clipboard support, like regular clipboard support. It's not going to send it to standard, and it'll use either Xclip as a dependency, and I have a Wayland one. I forget the name of it. I think it's WL TAC clipboard. But yeah, full clipboard integration, and I think the only reason OSs ship it is for the easy option for people to use who aren't used to VI, and that's Micro. Like Nano is just like a way worse version of Micro. So yeah, that's a big point of confusion for me. So if you're an OS maintainer or a distro maintainer, consider it.
So would you say that the Nano became like QWERTY, like a very inferior system, but it's just everywhere now that you can't overcome it now?
Well, I love QWERTY. I don't know if it could get better than that. I've heard people who've tried Dvorak, and they said that it wasn't necessarily better.
See, between like Vim or VI and Nano, it's not that foreign of a concept. Like some people play with Lego Technic, other people play with Duplo. It's like you take your pick.
Oh. Yeah, that's pretty harsh.
I tried well, in my defense, I tried Vim solidly for a year, where it was almost entirely my only text editor, and I built my way up to that over the course of a few years. But it was like I was constantly fighting between two environments, the desktop environment and the terminal environment. And when I discovered Micro, it's like suddenly everything was unified. Maybe not as much as Sublime Text, but pretty close. And then it was love at first sight. Yeah.
Oh, I watched DistroTube's videos, and he says, "Why would you ship a distro without Vim in it?" And I'm thinking to myself, why would you want Vim? But I'm an average user. That's it. I don't do a lot of coding or anything like that. I might do scripting in a little bit, but is Vim one of those ones where it sort of partially knows what you're going to put in or type in, or is that another one? Or is it
you mean it has like a suggestion?
It doesn't.
It has like suggestions.
That might be a plugin.
Suggestions. Oh, okay, yeah.
No, I don't think it does it by default, but there might be a plugin.
There's definitely plugins for that. Yeah.
Okay, right.
Adam, you get some pushback here in the chat. Leo says it's not Lego Duplo, it's engineering versus Lego. It says Lego is Nano is Lego, Vim is engineering. We don't need all that. So anyway, those are your fighting words.
That needs to be a topic, Micro, or like a subtopic, because I think if more people tried it out, they'd be like, "Oh, this is awesome," and Vim is too complicated. I should use this instead. So just saying that. Okay, I'm done.
In our
don't kick me out.
In our Atlanta Linux user group, one of the guys, after the Calamares installer is done, the next step is sudo apt purge nano-y.
Yeah, there you go. I have that. Yeah.
And in install fest, that is a step in the script.
I agree.
My manager at my previous job made us add into our like initial server config that Nano be installed on whatever we put on, just to make sure, because he refused to learn VI.
There you go. Honestly, I'm glad Nano's there also. I think my biggest heartbreak is that if Nano's on the system, by default the sudo edit uses Nano, and for me, I would prefer the default be sudo edit get you in VI, because you should.
Isn't that like an environment variable, right?
Sudo users do not need to. First of all, if they don't know how to use VI, they don't need to be doing sudo commands.
Right. That's a very good gatekeep. I actually like that.
That's my thought.
So
Jinda is a great tool, you know. I don't want to poo-poo it, but you know, it just.
I'm gonna have to try it now. I think I'm gonna have to do Vim to see. I've got some scripts that I've made, and I might try writing some scripts in Vim, just copying some existing ones to see how I go.
I
That'd be
think
interesting.
I think using a little bit of the shortcuts at first is best. Not trying to do everything at once because you'll go crazy with all the different commands to get to this.
Well, that's why I don't use a tiling window, because just trying to remember all those things. I suppose it's one of those things that if you do it over and over, you will remember, but just couldn't be bothered. It's easier to pick up a mouse.
Don Lackland says it's all about what works for you. I'll say that Vim makes me much, much, much more efficient. And then he puts XKCD1205. Does that mean something? But
it's a comic strip.
It's a comic strip.
Oh, I don't know that one.
It's comics?
Well, there we go. I learned something. It's a comic strip. I have to look that up.
Well, the other thing, sorry, Nate, before you go ahead, the other thing I don't know, Dvorak, I've heard of it. Dvorak, I don't exactly know what it is. I know what a QWERTY is. So is it a keyboard layout as, I heard a story, I read something once, I don't know if this is true, that they changed to a QWERTY keyboard because people were typing too fast or something?
Yeah, supposedly for the typewriters that had like the arms that slap the paper.
Yeah, that's right.
So it wouldn't get jammed up that way, like in the ways that it would fly forward.
I added the link for the comic strip.
Yep, I just clicked on it already.
A Bond villain.
Very cool. So I have to address an elephant in the room, but that elephant's actually Steve, and I noticed he's in a garage. So did he get kicked out of his house? Is what I want to
know. First, can you hear me without me blowing everybody away?
Yes.
Yep. Sounds good.
I just didn't want to make you feel alone in your big garage essence that you have there. And I had to make Vince feel, because Vince gets kicked out of the garage a lot.
So
that's out tonight before the bugs really get bad. I'm like, instead of sitting in the house, I'll just hang out in the garage for a little bit with you guys. So that's why I'm here.
Excellent.
Cool.
Trying to see what kind of car you. Well, I've seen that car before. You drove that car to Michigan.
Yep. My Ford Escape.
Escape. Every time I hear Escape. An SUV.
Well, good evening, gentlemen, and morning and afternoon, wherever you are from.
Well, it's nice to have you, and it's also makes it closing time. Oh, wait a minute. Before we do that, housekeeping. If you have any suggestions, please send them to suggestions@linuxsaloon.com, or you can tag myself or Eris and any of the chat platforms. You can also make suggestions on the Tux Digital Forum. Wherever you'd like to do it would be great. They can be suggestions for the distributions or for applications, or if you have an idea for a StrawPoll, we'd love to have that. Also, I have a calendar. So should there be any changes to what's going on in Linux Saloon, like if you want to find out if it shifts a little bit, like by 15 minutes, like if I have a work thing or whatnot and I can't make it in time, the calendar will let you know. I'll let you adjust it in the calendar. You can also see what's coming up next week, and it'll say application appetizer TBD because I haven't put it in there yet. Also, just a heads up, the 27th of May, there won't be a Linux Saloon unless someone decides to pinch hit for me. So in that case, there won't be one. But that's just to let you know. Like maybe Steve. Steve could do it. He would do great. I've seen his stream Sunday morning. He would never have his internet go out in the middle of a stream.
We're trusting Comcast here. Majority of the time, yes.
Great.
I do go good.
You can get the calendar is at linuxsaloon.com, or because I don't have a proper certificate in there for the redirect, you can go to cubicle8.com/linuxsaloon, the same page. So Steve, speaking of streaming, are you streaming tomorrow? I'm pretty sure
I am planning to.
Okay. Well, that's good. Excellent. That's great news. Best news I've heard all day.
I'll be back on my pop instead of Linux Mint, so the sound should be good. I got
good.
a couple little things that I've done. You'll see tomorrow.
Excellent.
And yeah, we'll talk about some more family things in the past and that.
Should be good times. I enjoy your streams. I especially enjoy it when Adam joins, after you let him actually join. And then when he gives you a hard time. That's my favorite part.
It's not a stream if it's not with Adam, but
True.
I have to suffer sometimes.
There's an abundance of that, Nate.
Suffering?
Steve suffering, yes.
Oh, yes.
Well, we're not bringing up Vince right now, but that's okay.
There's a reason I'm staying quiet.
So tomorrow morning, it's 8 a.m. Central or 9 a.m. Eastern. And then UTC is something I'm not sure. So a 1400 UTC on Sunday.
It's usually between like the 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock range over there in Europe, kind of.
Yeah. Mark, the Atlanta Linux enthusiasts, are you meeting tomorrow?
So yes, the Atlanta Linux enthusiasts meet every Sunday from 3 to 6 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. There's no set agenda. You're welcome to join us and ask questions, listen to the questions. It's really just a help session. You do need to manage your help, make sure you get what you're looking for, but we typically will help users out with problems that they've run into. Audio problems are sometimes difficult when you're in the Jitsi Zoom, but we start by chatting a little bit and give them some ideas. But anyways, yeah, so join us at ALE. The website is ale.org, and then we have a meetup page also, and that's all.
You have quite the brain trusts at ALE, so that's pretty fantastic. Linux User Space, I think they did their last show. They shouldn't have done their last show. I think they should do, they did 20 shows. I think they should do at least 24, because back when Star Trek The Next Generation was going, they would do 24 episodes per season, and I think it'd be appropriate if Linux User Space did 24 episodes for season 2, but they didn't. They stopped at 20, so they shortchanged us. It's like season 2, I guess, of Star Trek. Anyway, their last episode was on Raspberry Pi OS, so check that out. Also, they will be doing some streams on Tuesday, like they'll stream onto Twitch and do like Discord, so you can do meetups on Tuesdays with them. I don't know how often, but they are doing them. So you can go to their Discord server, keep an eye on them there, or subscribe to them on Twitch. So Leo says 20 was just a nice round number, and 24 is, I still don't know what the problem is. 24 is fine. But anyway, check that out, linuxuserspace.show. It's a great podcast. Go back, listen to the back catalog if you haven't yet, and you will not be disappointed. I am on a podcast called Linux Out Loud. We talked about what would you do if your favorite DE in Linux went away. Where would you go? I'll give you a little hint. I went old and crusty. I also have a website called cubiclenate.com. I do things there. Oh, you know what? And I totally biffed. So I have two co-hosts on Linux Out Loud. I have Matt and Wendy. Matt is there. Wendy makes the things happen. Linux Saloon is part of the Tux Digital Network. Check out more great shows at tuxdigital.com. And check out like Destination Linux, Studio Show, Hardware Addicts. All great. I want to thank you all for your support, however you do it, being a part of the conversation, both the Zoom meeting, the YouTube stream, as well as everyone for watching the show after the fact. I want to thank everyone involved for making the Linux and open source tools possible for us to not only have this conversation, but also to have fun and enjoy our technology. Linux truly puts personal back in a personal computer. Thank you for stopping by. Be sure to tip your developers, and please remember to Linux responsibly. Until next time, see yas.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Be sure to do this. Go ahead.
I can't find the video stream.
You can't find
on
the video
on
stream.
Linux Saloon or on Tux Digital. YouTube.
I've got it. I'm watching it.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hang on. I'll post the link.
Yeah.
Well, that's fun. It's always fun to have fun like that, right? All right.
Well,
No,
I've always used H.
Sorry, you go ahead,
Go
Colin.
on, Vince. Yeah.
Well,
So maybe if he's around.
There's Oh.
No, go ahead. So Steve says
Well, yeah, go ahead.
that no, I can talk to you about those after the fact.
We'll talk after.
Yeah, we'll talk after. Kind of takes
You
a little
can't,
bit of
you can't even
magic out of
play
it.
the.
I mean, I guess at this
You know,
point. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say when
Actually, I wonder if
There's actually. Oh, no,
no, Eris, you're good.
More of a
I
desktop
I
guy at the
only
moment.
use laptops.
So we all start. We try that again. Go ahead, Alf Nick.
We should just raise our hands. Raise our hands or virtual hands. We can go to reactions and then raise hand.
Yeah, however you want to do it. That's probably a good plan. What are you gonna say, Alf Nick? Who's else?
I prefer.
I mean, I don't know if this one's
We
gonna.
we.
What?
Sorry.
You. It's all you, man. You got the floor.
I was gonna.
All right. Is there? I believe.
Yeah, it was
Yep.
right around now too.
Was that a couple weeks
And
ago?
again, whatever you mentioned, man, just don't do that again. Don't say
apparently
that.
no more knocks against Debbie and
I think you got whatever Eric has. His time
Are you on
thing.
Debian right now, Nate?
No, God no. No, I shouldn't be so harsh on Debian. Debian is something that we all need to appreciate.
I think if you
Well, that's
get
what
the,
you want to get the Zima. Sorry, go ahead, Ernst.
Is
I
that
was
a beverage?
I was gonna say.
Well, you're muted.
Thank
I
you.
got a blooper.